Hey guys, I am back to read chapter 4 of my autobiography, Who Are You? Tales of a Survivor. Now, if you're just finding this video and you're wondering who the heck I am, why am I even reading this book, you got to go back to video number 1, actually talking about it. I am a survivor of different types of abuse, and I'm really just being vulnerable, reading my story here for those that maybe cannot afford to purchase a book, that this is going to actually help them, because hearing, seeing, talking about it, understanding that you're not alone is so freeing, okay? So now chapter 4 goes into my school days. Now remember, I've talked about how, any type of trauma that we've gone through shapes and molds who we become, the choices that we make and all of that. And some of us make choices that we can't come back from, and then some of us make choices that we can come back from, and they're still here to be able to make them. So I am thankful to God that I am still alive today. There's so many times that I could have been out of here. And so I'm thankful for God's grace. And I just pray, so far, it's been a huge blessing to read this on TikTok, because I've gotten so many messages and comments from people saying that they thought that they were alone. They didn't think that they could identify with somebody else, and that they would be able to relate, that somebody could relate to them and their mommy issues, their daddy issues, things that they've gone through. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to get right into chapter 4. All right. This is school days. So I did well in school. I was a good student. I made the honor roll, but for some reason, I was placed in the lowest reading group at Bladensburg Elementary School in Bladensburg, Maryland. So one day I approached my teacher, Mrs. Brazil, and I told her, I don't like this book. Why am I having to read out of it? And she says, what do you mean you don't like this book? She asked. Well, the words are too easy, I told her. And then she says, do you think that you can read this? And so she hands me another book. I started reading it fluently right in front of her. That earned me a spot in the highest reading group. Now think about this. Had I not spoken up for myself, I probably would have gone my entire grade school career on the lowest reading level and never been tested and challenged. Lesson learned. Now, Mrs. Brazil was shocked at my reading ability. After that, I qualified for all of the spelling bees and started winning them. So as far as academics, things were fine. But I wasn't so popular. No way. I was the girl with the Jerry curl. I was overweight. I knew the popular people and how to interact with them, but I wasn't cool. I wasn't the pretty one. My best friend in grade school was a white girl named Taria Wilson, and she accepted me for who I was. She also didn't mind getting a little crazy together. I remember this one day while I was in the 6th grade when we didn't go to school. There were 4 of us who skipped: Taria, me, this guy named Keith, and another friend named Marcy. We went to Taria's house, and of course her parents weren't home. At some point, Taria said, let's have... Remember, we're all 11 or 12. Not the kind of thing you'd expect a girl that age to suggest. So first Taria and Keith, then Marcy and Keith did the deed while I watched. What's most wrong with this picture? Oh yeah, it's the fact that I didn't participate. It was never my turn. I was evidently there to play the voyeur. It wasn't because I didn't want to join in, although I really had no interest in Keith. He was the dirty boy who picked and ate his boogers. It was mainly that there was no interest in being part of it because I was the black girl. Joining in was just never presented as an option. That's the only explanation I've ever been able to come up with. My friends were all under the covers, but they were doing it right there in front of me. I represented the racial divide. That divide continued when I went to William Wirt Middle School in Riverdale. In the 7th grade, the black kids all hung with the black kids, the white kids all hung with the white kids, and there were unwritten rules, but they were set in stone. Meanwhile, because of the divide, me and Taria stopped being best friends. Just stopped. Poof. Done. Like overnight. It wasn't anything we ever discussed. It just happened. And you rolled with it, and you just never questioned it. We had to be bused to William Wirt because they closed down our neighborhood middle school. As a middle-class kid from the suburbs, me, I got my first taste of what impoverished looked like. It was a different world. Though the school itself was mixed with all kinds of kids from all situations tossed together, it opened my eyes wide. Suddenly, I had issues with gangs. You had all these girls from this particular hood. There was the M team, the baby M team, the lady M team. The one thing they all had in common was they were fighters and I wasn't. Now, I was surrounded by all these tough chicks and this one girl starts picking on me. I was scared to death. So I remember bringing a big metal disc with me as a weapon for protection. I put it in my purse to have it handy because I knew this girl wanted to fight me and I needed to defend myself. I thought about that movie Bad Boys with Sean Penn. You know, the part where he was in jail and he filled a pillowcase with soda cans to use as a weapon. Yeah, that was going to be me with this metal disc in my purse. LOL. I was prepared to swing away. So sure enough, I arrived at school and this girl was waiting to get me. That's when I met a girl named Sabrina, who would become my best friend. She had my back all through school after that. "You don't want to fight Angie," she told the other girl whose name was Poochie. Poochie. I was scared of a girl named Poochie. They both were a part of the same gang, so Sabrina was able to provide protection for me. Basically, I was now accepted because Sabrina said so. I was instantly untouchable. That intervention resulted in the girl making peace with me. The fight didn't go down, and Bree, as I would come to call her, said to me, "As long as you're with me, you're going to be all right." We're still best friends to this day. She is my ride or die. The toughness that I've learned, I've gotten from her. They used to call her Sabruno because she was the only girl any of us knew who fought like a dude. Like most girls had cat fights and did that windmill swinging thing, but Bree fought straight up. She was a boxer, so you didn't want to mess with her. She knew how to take you out. She was no nonsense. Now, there were a couple of other run-ins where someone would come after me or Bree had an issue with somebody. I had her back too. I got into quite a few fights myself, though it wasn't me starting them. A lot of it stemmed from reverse racism because I'm light-skinned. I'm a light-skinned black girl. And all the girls wanted to fight me due to that jealousy, the skin, and of course, my glowing personality. I went to William Wirt, then to Bowie High School in Bowie, Maryland, starting in 9th grade. I began performing at Bowie in the drama club. I sang in the talent show too. Actually, I went to multiple high schools because I was leaving mom, going to dad, then to granddad. High school was a whole back and forth thing. But you know, my most indelible school memory is probably something that didn't have anything to do with school itself, really. I remember like it was yesterday. It was 1986 and I was in the 8th grade. It was when the Space Shuttle Challenger exploded and all of us at work watched it live together. We were all so excited because Krista McCullough, a teacher, was going to be a part of the crew. This was a big deal because we all saw the selection process for her and how they settled on Krista. There was a big campaign for who would be chosen. All of the exercises they had to endure and the conditioning of their bodies and all of that. We were all standing and glued to the live broadcast of the launch. It was like this huge event. I was in Mrs. Howard's Spanish class, but a bunch of our classrooms merged together to watch it. And then there was this big giant explosion and everything got real quiet. "What was that?" someone asked. "I don't know," someone else answered. "Obviously a major malfunction." "Calmly," said the man on the TV. We were all just sitting there staring at the screen, shocked and confused. A few of the more immature kids laughed and joked. "Hey man, it blew up." Some of us started to cry. I mean, it was unbelievable. How could Krista die? She was a teacher. Like, teachers don't die in rocket ships. As it all started to sink in, we grew more and more devastated. We saw the shuttle break off into pieces and head toward the water, and we knew it was all over. What we didn't know until later on was that the astronauts didn't die in that initial explosion. They stayed alive until the main cabin where the people were housed hit the water 2 minutes and 45 seconds later.